Alrighty, YouTube, hello there. So just a forewarning, this setup is not perfect, so I could and might lose connection at some point in the stream, but I have a software that will redirect us back to the stream. So I have the chat enabled, so you should be able to ask me any questions you'd like during the stream. I'm working on an 11 by 14 inch wooden panel that has been prepared over, I guess, a couple weeks. So I would gesso over it with Liquitex, sand it, and then ultimately, after all of those layers dried, I toned it with this color that's kind of dripping here, which is the French raw umber from Rublev. And hopefully you can see the photo reference in the corner. That is a Anthony van Dyck. This doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue the other paintings that are ongoing, such as the Rembrandt and the Nelson Shanks. We're still going to continue those. It's just that I really want to start to introduce more live streams. So go ahead, you can ask me anything you would like. Have I heard of? Sorry, no, I haven't heard. Also, the take note that the comments are either a couple seconds or a whole minute behind. So when you do ask a question or send a comment, it will take about a minute or so to reach my software where I'm streaming from. So hopefully you can see the photo reference there, and I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with the first stage in my process, which is the umber layer. I may or may not put in some colors to layer. But at this point, I'm just going to be focusing on the drawing, just like you've been seeing for the past couple weeks, the way that I've been uploading videos, painting and talking. Yeah, all of that's basically been training me for this very task, which is a lot of fun. So I'm just going to place the head somewhere around here. Try to be as loose as possible. Not using any medium in the beginning. I'm just using, as a solvent, I'm using what's in the little cup down here, which is my spike lavender. And I usually use spike lavender to begin with. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Thank you for writing this. Yep, I'll check it out. So somewhere around in the middle, I'm using French raw umber. If you haven't tried Rublev colors, Rublev is a really nice brand to use, especially for the beginning, just because they don't have any of the binders. So it's just pigment and oil. And in the beginning, I try to start out pretty loose. With whatever painting, if it's going to be a sketch or something that I will eventually take to a finish, I always try to start out rather loose and abstract. And I'm going to be working in the, I'm not going to be working in sight size, I'm going to be working comparatively. So comparative measurement. And I usually try to look for what is the most obvious stuff first. Just like you've seen in the pre-recorded videos. Added a little bit more of my spike lavender. So I try to go for what's the most obvious. So I won't be jumping into any of the features just yet. So the axes of the eyes will go around here. And it's just a generalized shape that I can then work into. And I chose this Van Dyck specifically because he didn't finish it completely. It doesn't seem so. It seems like it was more or less a study. So that is one of the reasons I have selected this image for a master study. So what these streams hope to be are virtual painting sessions. So you'll be able to ask me anything you'd like to ask me while I'm painting. And also check out the links that I have for my online classes, which I'm now going to start to do through live streams as well. But those are lessons. I want to make it clear this is a painting session. This is not meant to be a lesson, because I move much faster when I'm painting like this than when I'm giving lessons to my online students. For more information, please check out patreon.com/upariartist. So it kind of starts out like kind of like a fog, very soft and very simple. In the beginning, there's always that fear when you're starting out. You know, you're throwing out shapes, and then it gets kind of scary in the beginning, especially when you're live streaming to the world. But at some point, you start to reason with shapes. And instead of looking at eyes, nose, mouth, it's just shape, which is much less intimidating. So it seems like Rubens may have, not Rubens, sorry, Van Dyck may have used a similar beginning to his painting. So you can actually see around the corner here the umber layer. So I'm going to take out a bigger brush, just start to cover the area around. So you'll see just how abstract the beginning can be, but it's a lot of fun. It looks like I'm already going to have to put more French raw umber out. So if you have any questions about the materials, the technique, my classes, anything you'd like to ask me, feel free to ask me. I'm really new to this. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I'm really new to this streaming setup. I mean, this is obviously my first public one, so hopefully everything comes out well. Grisaille method, and which is okay. So the beginning. A glass palette? Yeah. I'm using the glass palette again because I noticed as I was going through the footage, the pre-recorded footage that everyone saw or may have seen on the YouTube channel, I noticed that the wooden palette was a little too, it was hard to see some of the skin tones. So I switched back to the glass. Accuracy fast? I really don't. I don't get accuracy that fast. You know, like what you're seeing here is me just going for the most obvious things, meaning just the dark of the background. Mind you, when you tone with oil, it's a lot of fun to do this because you'll notice that the surface is much more absorbent. So once I have enough of the French raw umber in the background, I'm then going to go back into the features. And if you're wondering which technique, this is umber layer, classical painting technique. There are many examples of this technique on YouTube. You can also check out the Streamline. I believe it's called Streamline. They have one that's really useful that explains this process really well by an artist named Eric Johnson. But yes, this is umber layer. Let's see. Upload. Yeah, this will be uploaded to YouTube after the live stream is done, however long the processor takes, but it will be uploaded to YouTube. Linseed oil as a medium to tone the canvas, I really wouldn't suggest that. to tone the canvas or the panel or whatever you're using, the best thing I think you can use, I have over here, which is actually my drawing solvent, which I'm actually running low on, is Spike Oil, Spike Lavender Oil. I recommend this the most, or a lot of people don't like using it, but I also use distilled turpentine. But if you don't have any of those, just odorless mineral spirits should be just fine. Now what I'm going to do, now that I have everything covered, I'm going to switch to a scrubby scrub brush. I'm going to use this to draw. And I'm also kind of deciding the composition, you know, how much of the surface do I want the face to take. And I usually like the size to be about the size of my hand. So the top of the head down to the chin. So this is about the size of my hand. It's about the same size I do. So let's check the questions. Okay. I think Umber layer, to answer your question, I think Umber layer is easiest. Actually, with my online students, typically I'll start them out either with a transfer drawing or an Umber layer like this, and then they start to create the grisaille. Now, with the Umber layer, it's important to think about it as a drawing. I try to trick myself into thinking that this is a drawing and not a painting. So it's kind of a mind game. And it's nice to have a variety of scrubby scrub brushes. Drawing for at least a year before. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I do recommend that. However, I've found that there are ways to bridge the gap between drawing and painting. So it is possible to, you know, start with painting and obviously having drawing exercises. I give my my patrons and my online students drawing exercises, which are more or less sketches. But it's important to have a pretty good foundation in drawing, because essentially everything you're doing here is problem solving, and drawing is basically problem solving. And the main difference really is that I'm not worried about color. Mainly focused on composition and shape. And very frequently, I will stand back. It's kind of hard to stand back with this setup. But hopefully in the photo reference you can see, especially in the corner here, that Van Dyck started with a very similar approach. Now, of course, I'm not saying that I'm working exactly how he was working, but it's nice to see evidence of that, the umber all around the skin tones. Okay, so I'm trying to answer your question. Grisaille is more realist or umber layer method? I would suggest starting out with umber layer, so starting like this. For the most accuracy, your question is about accuracy. For the most accuracy, I would suggest a transfer drawing, and then an umber layer, and then a grisaille, which is the way that I started out my online students with their second project. So for the most accuracy, I would suggest transfer drawing, so just drawing outlines, and then transferring it onto a surface like this, and then going into the shadows with your umber. Then letting that dry, and then creating a grisaille. That would be the absolute most accurate way to start a painting. Oh, awesome. Of a portrait of a dragon. That's cool. I actually have some dragons of my own. I have bearded dragons. Alright, so I definitely ran out of the French Royal Umber. So if any of you haven't tried this brand, I highly recommend it, especially for toning your surfaces and for starting. It's called Rublev. This is a French raw umber. The thing about Rublev is that they don't put the, for lack of better terms, preservatives in their paints. So it's mainly just pigment and oil, which is what you want if you're going to be layering a painting in the classical style. So basically fat over lean just means, you know, don't use any oil early on and introduce the oil content. Add more oil, more layers. The more layers you have, the more oil you use. So the fact that there's like, you know, no additives into the French raw umber makes it, I think, one of the best colors to use to draw and to tone. Gonna use my scrubby scrub brush. If any And the least thing that I want right now is any kind of details. At this stage, details would be kind of distracting. Instead, what you're looking for is setting the stage for a, you know, setting the stage for the next layer. And for the next layer, what I want is for the basic shape to be as accurate as it possibly can. I don't want any overly sharp edges. And of course, I want the drawing to be as accurate as I can get it. Knowing, however, that, you know, there's room for changes. That's not good. This is exactly what I thought. So now, all right. So now the software is telling me that that there's a problem with the connection. So if for some reason this is glitching for you, or it's playing in slow motion, just give the program a little bit, maybe a couple minutes. It should come back. I should probably type that. Just sending you a message. So I sent that message out just in case you can't see the footage right now. I found that after the stream ends, the YouTube program automatically cuts out. I've noticed parts of the footage that have been lost. Thank you for your comment. I can't quite read the comment. Kathy, you can still see it. Good, good. I'm glad that it shows up. My program's telling me that there's not enough data. So in the numerous tests that I did, with the streaming setup, I noticed that it will lose connection for a little bit, but the app compensates for it, and not the app, but the software catches the stream back. Let's see here. Have you ever experimented with other types of art? I consider math an art, like number theory and abstract algebra, topology. Those were some of my favorite fields of study in college. I consider it an art. So I've done that. I haven't really done any music or crochet or anything. How to prepare the canvas? First of all, I've actually kind of broken up with cotton canvas. I've been mainly working on panels just because they're cheaper and more archival. More archival meaning some of the oldest portrait paintings known to us. I would check out the mummy paintings. Some of the oldest paintings known to us are painted on wooden panels. So that's, that means that there's something good about painting on wooden support. In terms of how to prepare a canvas, I highly recommend Liquitex. I have links in the description of this video, along with the link to the photo reference, I should add, taken from Google Arts and Culture. But Liquitex Professional Acrylic Gesso is a great way to go in preparing canvases. When it comes to canvas, I definitely prefer linen over cotton. I try not to use cotton canvas anymore. It's just not as archival. So I usually put in a couple coats. Yep, no problem. Thanks for joining in the live stream. For gessoing, this right here probably has about, I think, 7 layers of Liquitex Professional Acrylic Gesso. So I apply it once a day. Then I sand it the next day or the next morning. And then after I sand it, of course, I kind of take all of the excess off and then re-gesso it. So I think this has about, I think, a week's worth of gessoing in that way. So hopefully that further adds more information. The Mona Lisa was on a wooden panel. Yeah, there we go. More support for my claim that, yes, painting on wooden panels is a really good way to go if we don't want to, of course, spend all the money on oil-primed linens. You know what I want to do is I want to paint on aluminum. Have any of you painted on aluminum? I'm currently working on a miniature painting of my fiance, a miniature painting on copper panel. It's about 5 by 7 inches. I must say that copper is really fun to paint on, but it's really slick in the beginning, the first few layers, and then it becomes one of the best surfaces ever. So in case anyone's wondering about why I'm applying brush strokes like this, I get this question a lot about the dab, dabbing, dab. It's just, I like the way that this looks when the painting is layered. After multiple layers, when you can see, dabs, like dabs of paint on top of dabs of paint. And I get another scrubby scrub brush. It still says poor connection. I'm hoping that it's still working. Now here is the very wonderfully delineated sternocleidomastoid neck muscle going in towards here, going right into the suprasternal notch down here. Got some really nice clavicles on our model here. Let's see, I've got a question coming in. Velasquez copies? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Velasquez. For sure. On Google Arts and Culture, they don't have his self-portrait. So I wanted to do, not his self-portrait, there's one painting that I can't quite remember the name of. It's in the Met. That, like, Velasquez one of his most famous portraits. But yeah, I'll get into that. In terms of streaming, I'm not entirely sure how frequently I'll be streaming, but the idea is to stream more and create a virtual painting sessions. But yeah, definitely Velasquez. I'll check him out. Now, apologize to everyone if the connection is not good. Okay, we got our connection back. Yes, connection is back. And by the way, this will be visible, hopefully. The footage will be visible as a pre-recorded video after this stream is done. Portrait of a man? Oh, yeah, you know exactly which one I'm thinking of. It's the first image that comes to mind when I think of Velasquez. So yeah, we're on the... Yeah, it does look like a self-portrait. Yeah, we're on the same page. Thanks for the likes, everyone that's leaving a like. Oh, thank you for watching. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, live streams in the time of social distancing. Yeah, but this was kind of always in the back of my mind. It's just I never really took the time to figure out the tech, that it takes to do these live streams, high definition live streams. Now, of course, I always think of a vignette when it comes to the cropping of the painting, so I think I'm going to leave the bottom down to vignette, meaning the areas you leave unfinished to complement the areas that are more finished. And also I kind of cropped it at this, it looks like I cropped it here at the photo reference. Yeah, I don't know if it lets us send links. So now I'm pretty satisfied with the composition and the shape. I do think, however, that I have a drawing error with the neck. Let's see, I get scrubby scrub. And always remember with the umber layer, with the, let's just simplify this or generalize it to with the first layer of a painting, you really want to focus on not having overly sharp edges, because that can be kind of hard to get rid of later. And you want to create a surface that you want to work on in multiple layers, multiple days. And if I were smarter, I probably would have purchased Van Dyck Brown to do the umber drawing. Must be cool to have a color named after you. And this is just a scrubby scrub brush, a used up scrubby scrub brush that I'm using to subtract. Alright, so now I'm going to switch from this larger drawing brush, even though it kind of appears small on the camera, to more, I guess, pointy round brush. Alright. So now I'm going to draw in, just using the umber, a little more information for the eye, and then I'll adjust everything according to it. Which painting technique do I enjoy the most? right here. You're looking right at it. The classical approach. This approach is by far um, my favorite, and it combines elements of both alla prima and you know what you would think of when someone mentions classical painting, meaning that I'm working with simplified masses, and the principles are fundamental. As I always tell my students, uh, the um, the principles are fundamental in painting, and in drawing. Um, whether you do digital or acrylic or water mixable or whichever, um, the principles are fundamental. But I enjoy building a painting like this where I try to make it as simple as I possibly can so that I can get the best results after the painting is complete. And that's another, and it's very time consuming. So that's one of the reasons why I'm deciding to do these streams. So I have more time to paint and demonstrate for you, create a virtual painting stream for you without having to edit. But that was a very good question, as I have demonstrated a lot of different techniques here on YouTube. How much time? That's a very good question. I have paintings that are portraits similar to this that I've been working on for about a month now. But anywhere from 3 to 4 layers to complete a painting for me at the minimum. So I guess that would be, if I'm really going at it, 3 to 4 days. Let's see. Cooking oil? Oh yeah. Yeah, no, don't use cooking oil for your medium. Brands to save money? Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. The thing is, okay, I don't have a lot of colors here, right? But I have the most important ones, which are your flake white. This is flake white. I have some type of primary yellow. This is Gamboge, Lake Extra. This I would not skimp out on. The red that you use, this is Cadmium Red Vermilion, Williamsburg. So what you want to do if you want to save money when it comes to painting is be very specific with what paints you buy. Make sure that you use the paints that you buy. Oftentimes when people have a very large palette, lots of colors, oftentimes they won't utilize those colors as much. Not always the case, but you can save money by purchasing less colors. I can do away with ultramarine blue if I really wanted to for portraiture. I can do away with this one with Gamboge Lake Extra if I really wanted to. But one thing you can really do to save money, I probably shouldn't publicize this, but one thing you can do is not go too expensive with your brushes. And that's all I can say. That's all I can say publicly. But trust me. Yeah, I went to art school. I went to this school called Studio Incominati in Philadelphia. I studied there for about a year. I also studied with a teacher that I still consider him my teacher. I actually just completed a portrait of him, titled it "My Teacher," an artist by the name Paulden Hamilton. He's based in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm over here near DC in Maryland. And I'll tell you, one of the best resources for painting education, in particular classical painting education, is to read art conservationist scholarly articles. There's some really good ones on Rembrandt and Vermeer. In particular, I'm following a type of palette and approach similar to 17th century Dutch. Of course, not exactly the same, but around that school of thought. Of course, minus the transfer drawings, because classically, if you're going to do the Dutch method, the full Dutch method, classically you want to create a transfer drawing. Definitely worth it to buy artist grade. I'll tell you, my Old Holland yellow ochre, it cost me like $12, and I think it's like $8 to get the Winsor Newton, and it's probably like $7 to get the student grade Winsor Newton. Just go with Old Holland when it comes to yellow ochre, or Williamsburg. I definitely vouch for these brands, Old Holland and Williamsburg. Definitely my favorite, and they're not that expensive. Again, if you you buy colors, you stick with a limited palette, and you stick with colors that you know very well, very closely. And of course, Rublev is a really good brand too, but the problem is with Rublev, since they don't have any additives, I consider it an advanced color or advanced type of paint to use, these Rublevs. I think they're really great for the initial layers, but since they don't have any of the binders or the preservatives, sorry, not binder, the preservatives in the paint, the oil and the pigment can separate, and then you have to take the paint out of the tube and then add more linseed oil and retube it, which isn't a problem, but it's not as beginner friendly. So that's why I say I would stick with Old Holland and Williamsburg. Trust me, I had the same kind of thought process a long time ago. I would go to the art store, I would look at the closed box containing the Old Holland. I'd see the prices, and I would just say nope. And then more than a decade later, I'm like, wow, these paints really do make a difference. They really do. All right, so now I'm going to step back. Let's see. I hope the lighting isn't too overexposed. Let me adjust this a little bit. Whoops. Oh, thank you so much for watching from Spain. Alright, so I adjusted the lighting. Hopefully it's not as overexposed anymore. Oh, wow, you bought YouTube Premium. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sorry about the ads. Recently, YouTube has started kind of putting ads all over the place without the creators' permissions. And they sent us a notice about it, and, we creators were like, okay. Yeah, even in my non-monetized videos, there's just ads and ads and ads. Yeah, sorry about that. And now that I'm pretty sure or pretty certain of the shapes, I'm gonna definitely step back again. It's if I had a multi-cam setup, then it would be nice to see how often I stand back, but definitely going to stand back again and look for any little thing anything that I can adjust. Oh, thank you so much from the UK. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, if everyone enjoys these, I guess what I'm going to call them are virtual painting sessions. If you enjoy these, I can just do as many as I feel. Remember, these aren't online lessons, however. If you would like to have my online lessons or participate in my online classes, I have links to that on my Patreon. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that the premium works well for you. Yeah, I was even thinking of I still use YouTube for music. I was thinking of switching to something else, like what's it called, Spotify or whatever. Stepping back again. Largest painting copy I've done is the 1620 still ongoing Rembrandt in terms of master studies. Don't worry, I haven't touched the Rembrandt since the last time you've seen it filmed. I will continue that one. And I actually since then started another Rembrandt. There's a lot of pre-recorded footage, which is another reason why I want to stream, because there's a whole lot of content on my laptop, or not my laptop, my external hard drive, which, streaming live like this eliminates the need for all of that. And I get to connect with all of you and answer your questions as you're asking them. I think that that's really fun. For underpainting, with my online students, I have them create their underpaintings with either the white of their choice. Basically, I'm an advocate for flake white, lead-based whites, and raw umber. So basically, just white and raw umber is what I recommend for underpainting. I, however, have now moved into something I call color underpainting. Other artists like Joshua LaRock here on YouTube also uses the same terminology, color underpainting, where you create an underpainting using color. It's also referred to as dead coloring, which I don't like the word dead coloring, but where you use flesh tone. I might actually make it to the flesh tone, but keep the color very muted and focused more into drawing and value. So definitely many ways to do underpaintings, but I suggest raw umber and flake white. That would be my best suggestion. Hello. Welcome to the craft of painting. Glad you started painting. I think of painting as pretty much problem solving with color. It's a lot of fun. And what's a lot of fun is what we're doing here. I mean, painting and talking, for most, they don't really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I can't really tell you why. First of all, I have a really big fascination with oil painting, but in particular, as I always mentioned, awesome watercolor. As I always mentioned, Nelson Shanks, my superhero, the artist that I started the master copy 2 weeks ago. Nelson Shanks has this video out, or the school, Studio Incominati, has this video called Portrait as Fine Art. And that was really my biggest motivation in creating, combining video with traditional painting. So I wanted to be able to replicate that same kind of experience. And I consider it an art form. I consider this an art form. Meaning combining video and painting. And now live streaming. This is so exciting. Send me comments. I will definitely respond to you. This is so much easier than, you know, scrolling through hundreds of comments on the YouTube studio. Anything on your mind. Painting related. Awesome. Watching from Philippines. 6 in the morning over there. Wow. I'm glad that my channel has helped you out, and thank you for tuning in at 6 in the morning. Wow. Interesting. So the mouth is not really in the center line, I don't think, with the original. Hello from Germany. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do I like Jeremy? You mean Jeremy Lipking? If that's who you're talking about, yep, definitely. If you mean Jeremy Lepke, I think similar name, awesome painter as well. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad this is an inspiration. What do I do with my paintings? Ooh, that's a very good question. Ooh, we're here on the public. Well, long story short, I layer and prepare my paintings to be sold. Basically, I create them in order to sell them. Not so much the master studies. These are more for the video experience. But my paintings, my studio paintings, I create for the purpose of selling them. I have inventory that I'm starting to build. The ones that aren't sold, the ones that I cannot sell, I actually destroy. It's kind of hard to admit, but yes, I actually destroy or paint over them, simply because I don't want to have paintings of mine lying around in the future that I don't want to be seen. Unfortunately, a lot of them are on YouTube, so there's nothing I could do about those. But what I want to do is create art prints for sure and sell them on my Etsy page. I've sold a few paintings on my Etsy, so if any of you are interested in purchasing paintings, I have a lot of them that are this size still remaining. But for the most part, I have about, I think, 20 to 30 paintings left as I continue to restock my inventory. Biggest problem is in where the eyes are. Okay. Usually I go for, so this is what I try to look for when it comes to eyes. Now the head is in 3/4, but closer to centered. But usually if they were facing you, the distance of the eyes, between the eyes is the length of one of the eyes. So it's kind of the same here. So from here to here, it's the same as here to here. Another thing you can do is look at the tear duct. The tear duct to the bottom of the chin is usually the same distance as the tear duct to the top of the head. Now, it looks like in perspective we're looking up. So Van Dyck probably had the model sitting a little bit elevated. So we're seeing a little more of the bottom in terms of perspective. We've watched so many ghost hauntings. I visited Peru once when I was a kid. My family is from Peru, and I could have sworn I saw a levitating, a lady levitating, wearing a nightgown with no feet. So that's one of my interesting experiences in life. It could have also been a nightmare. After this stage, after drying, yeah, I with the Umber layer, it's usually touch dry overnight, in 24 hours, which is why I like using raw Umber, because it dries fast. So, usually I'll just go right back into the painting the next day you know, I'm free to work on that painting. But I work on multiple paintings a day. So, for instance, this isn't my first time painting today. I actually did the Patreon live stream earlier today. And yeah, so I usually work on multiple paintings a day, usually about 3 or 4. Actually, this is my third painting I worked on today. I have a miniature painting, 5x7-inch painting on copper that I'm working on. So after I finished my live stream, I worked on that miniature painting. And then this is now my third, and there will probably be a fourth one after this. Yep, of course, no problem. I'm glad you enjoy the tips about the eyes. He's certainly a good painter. Favorite paint brand? Oh, that's a good one. It's between Rublev and Old Holland. Ooh, that's a good question. The answer may change depending on the day of the week, but currently I think my favorite paint brand is Old Holland because of the thickness to the paint. Really nice paint quality. Even though right now I'm using Rublev, I highly suggest using this color for starting your paintings. This is Rublev French Raw Umber. Yep, no problem. And right now I'm just using the Scrubby Scrub brush to soften the edge here. Now I'm going to stand back. Alright, it's getting there. Getting there. Here we are about to approach an hour. So we only lost connection, I think, once. So if it's alright with you, I think I'm just going to keep painting. Well, I guess drawing. I try to think of this as drawing. So I'm using the back end of the brush to scratch in highlights. Let's see. Thank you for sending a question. Awesome. Yep. Soft pastels are definitely a good way to go. Do drawing tools make a big difference to the maturity or progress of the work? Drawing tools. But drawing tools, do you mean the caliper? If so, I think so. I don't usually use things like grids. A lot of people use grids and stuff. I usually prefer to work comparatively. so comparative measurement. But if there were to be a drawing tool that I recommend the most, I definitely think that it would be something like this, a caliper. I used to work on and ride motorcycles, and I bought this to adjust the chain on the motorcycles. So now I just have the caliper left. But any caliper really. Now here we see some nice anatomy. Did I forget the name of this? Superciliary arch for the side of the forehead here. This little arch that goes across. Also sometimes referred to as the ridge of the skull. I don't quite know what this is. There's a little bulge here. But I'll just paint it in. Or draw it in. And use a little scrubby scrub. So again, we're live, so please feel free to ask any questions that you have. There we go. Now we have a question. Have I ever used a kneaded eraser? Yes, I have. I have used a kneaded eraser to subtract from the umber layer. That's perfectly fine as long as I don't get any of the oils. Sometimes the kneaded erasers get oils from your hands. So as long as it's a very clean kneaded eraser. But I usually just I'll either use the back end of the brush to subtract the highlight for the eyes or something like that, or I'll just use a retired bristle brush. So these are smaller, well, just any brush really that stiffens too much. I'll use it as an eraser brush, a drawing brush. Someone that I've seen has done this really well is or can do this really well is Robert Liberace. He's a painter based around where I live. He's in Northern Virginia. I've met him a couple times. He's a really nice guy. When I was living in Philadelphia, Studio Incominati, when I was going to Studio Incominati, I lived with one of the artists named Robin Fry, and we even picked him up from the airport. Really nice guy. Acrylic paint for this genre of painting. Ooh, or is oil paint better? Ooh, that's a very good question. I don't want to hate on acrylic because I like acrylic and I've used acrylic. And I want to say yes, you can use acrylic to start like this, but it's hard. It's much harder than oil paint. And if I were to say which one is better for this type of painting, ooh, it's gonna be hard to. It's possible to use acrylic, but I would recommend oil paint. But don't get me wrong, some of my students use acrylic paint and they're awesome. Awesome. You wouldn't even tell the difference with the whether it was acrylic or oil. Let's see, another question. Classical art and perspective drawing. That's a really good question. Self-portraits. Definitely do a lot of self-portraits. I have about 3 of them that I've been working on. Only 2 have been seen on my Patreon. Actually, I think I'm working on 3 self-portraits. So definitely self-portraits is a good way to go with classical painting. And of course, if you want more help, I would love to have you as a student on my Patreon. I use these techniques and my students are progressing wonderfully. So yeah, I would highly recommend self-portraits. And when it comes to perspective, you can do many different poses. You can pose something similar like this, similar to this, or just working from life essentially is what I'm trying to get at. Who is my favorite artist? Yeah, that can change any day of the week. Right now it's Nelson Shanks. Nelson Shanks for sure. See how I can even use this brush to put in a halftone? So I'm really drawing. Why don't I use Winsor and Newton? Good question. I still do sometimes. I got my little buddy right here. Yeah, Winsor and Newton, they're really good paints, don't get me wrong. It's just when you suppose you have Winsor and Newton side by side with Old Holland, for instance. Say yellow ochre pale, Winsor Newton, which is a really good yellow ochre. You compare it to yellow ochre Old Holland. There's just more pigment packed into the Old Holland, I feel, than the Winsor Newton. For instance, this kind of is with a lot of brands. So, for instance, Rublev, you can just feel the weight of the more professional paints. Not saying that Winsor is not professional; they're artist grade, but there's a level above, I think, artist grade, where you can feel the paint too. Lifted, it's a little heavy, and that's good because there's a lot of pigment and not as much oil. Winsor Newton also has safflower oil, which is pretty good, but it's a slow dryer. It also has a tendency not to yellow as much, which is great. So Winsor Newton is great, but again, it's just because of the richness of the Old Holland and the Williamsburg that I prefer those colors. And you've seen, if you've been watching the stream the whole time, or if you just tuned in, remember this will be pre-recorded footage will be available after the stream ends. You really see how it's progressed from that kind of blob, like really simple blob, to now starting to put in the curvature of the eyelid. On finishing portraits? Yep, definitely. I'm working towards that. I've kind of stopped the way I used to work. I've known this technique for a long time, but it's only recently, I guess not that recently anymore, but I stopped the other techniques that I had. Typically, I just will spend way more time these days on a painting. You can also check my Instagram. I'm glad you like my voice. Awesome. Thank you for that nice comment. If you check my Instagram, I used to post like every day or every other day. Working on this, working on that. Unfinished, but check out the progress, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point I realized when someone Googles me, they see my unfinished work, not really my finished work. So I will be taking paintings to a finish. Hopefully I can continue using this format, the streaming format with HD. Hopefully you can watch this 1080p or 720p or just high quality. With, of course, the added benefit of being able to ask me anything on your mind while I'm painting. Now I'm gonna step back again, and I think we've got it. The basic architecture of the portrait. So hopefully now you can see how this is going to develop. It's also nice to look at negative shapes. So looking at this whole shape, this, it almost looks like a little piglet, the nose of a little piglet here. Then there's the head of the piglet and the bottom of the little piglet's mouth. It reminds me of this TV show I'm watching with my fiance called Seven Deadly Sins. Return to the Rembrandt study. I will return to the Rembrandt study pretty soon. So again, if this setup, if this HD streaming setup works out, then, well, actually it will work out. I'm going to make it work out. Then you're going to see a lot more content coming up. And yeah, the Rembrandt, I promise you I haven't touched it ever since the last time. I haven't painted on it, that is, since the last time pre-recorded footage came out, so it'll probably be out and reworked on during a stream. Bark drawing? Yes, I have done a lot of bark drawing. Let's see, which ones have I done? I've done the ear, the bark drawing ear. I've done one of the eyes, one of the faces profile. I've also done, what have I done? I've also done the foot, the nose of the bark drawings. Actually, for my online students, I've done something similar to that. I've created printable images in the style of the bark drawings for them to aid them in the to assist them in their class projects. To use pencil before. If you're gonna use pencil to create a transfer drawing, I would suggest doing it on a piece of paper, drawing paper, and then transferring it onto your painting surface. The last thing you want to do is add some kind of scratches through heavy mark making with the pencil. You can also opt for using charcoal, which won't be as it won't scratch the painting surface as much. But yeah, that's how I have my online students work. Oh, I'm glad you liked the stream. Yeah, let's keep it going. Virtual painting sessions. And don't forget to check out my Patreon in case you want to have some online lessons. I'm really enjoying the community we have on Patreon, and I really look forward to the community building there. So a nice thing about the raw umber, the French raw umber by Rublev, is that it's kind of a nice, it's a warm color. It's certainly a little bit warmer of a shade of raw umber than Winsor Newton. But since the Rublev doesn't have any additives to it, since it doesn't have any, what you call it, I think they're called, yeah, additives. There's vehicle, linseed oil, no additives, iron and manganese oxide pigment, PBR7 or whatever. The thing I like about this is that it settles very fast. It's a very fast settling raw umber, but not so fast that it starts to get overly tacky. Another thing I suggest doing, I lost that brush, but to use a fan brush periodically to push back any excess paint buildup. How do you transfer your drawings? Yeah, I have lessons on that on Patreon, but I'll give you the gist of it. You need a transfer paper of some sort. You want it to be a dedicated transfer paper. You can purchase it on Amazon. I can create some links for you if you'd like, or you can just look up transfer paper. You trace over your drawing with the transfer paper because it's transparent, so you can see your lines underneath. And then you put some kind of pigment or charcoal on the back of the transfer paper, then put the transfer paper onto your surface, and then you draw over top of it with a pen or some kind of sharp surface. Ultramarine blue, titanium white, and burnt umber. Yeah, a lot can be done with that color setup, certainly. All right, now I'm going to stand back. I think I'm missing this little part of his facial hair. So here's something I'll do. I'll add a lot of paint, more than I need, and then I'll get the scrubby scrub brush. Oh, thank you for your comment. Put in the scrubby scrub brush and steer it. So I really have to stand back and kind of compare each one of these shapes. And this is a really good place to look at a negative shape. So looking over here, my phone just sent me an update. Not my phone, my laptop. All right, I think we're still good. Stream should still be good. So I look at the exact nature of this little light portion here, this outside shape. So this kind of looks to me like a bird. So this was kind of like a piglet here. This is going to be a bird. So the top of the head of the bird, and then the beak is over here. Reminds me of, even though it's not a bird, but reminds me of Spyro the Dragon almost. The top of the head, and then his little mouth, and then maybe some of the horns, if you've played Spyro the Dragon. It's a vintage PlayStation 1 game that I usually play in the evenings. Now I have too much paint, so I'll get another synthetic brush. Just kind of blend it away. I'm really careful with how I let the paint settle onto the surface. I really wish I had my fan brush. Shameful. Just shameful. I lost my fan brush. I had 2 of them at one point. Such is life. Favorite Italian artists? There's where my art history ignorance kind of comes in. I want to say was Botticelli Italian? I really like Botticelli. And right now, this would usually be the job of my fan brush, but with the fan brush, I usually just use it to push the paint around and soften. Just came back from dinner. Awesome. Thank you for your comment. Yeah, I'm really trying to set up the this umber layer so that I can have the best painting experience when I put in the color underpainting. Standing or sitting when I paint? I prefer to stand, but right now I'm sitting. Just because when I stand and film, I tend to bump into things. So I'm just sitting. And I don't think that was a weird question. That was a very good question. And again, everyone, please feel free to ask me questions. Don't think that you will distract me or anything. You won't. It's nice to have questions to talk about and ponder about. I'm doing this so I can connect more with everyone. Now this is definitely a part, the part in the painting that gets, or the drawing that gets really slow, because at this point, so you know how I always say that I go for the most obvious stuff, and I keep going for the most obvious stuff for a while, until I get to a point and I don't know what to do. So when I get to a point and I don't know what to do in any stage, that's usually when I figure things out or find things that I usually wouldn't see if I were just, looking for the most obvious stuff. So it's just a way of problem solving. And I think that the background can have a little more texture to it, as you're hopefully seeing in the photo reference. Alrighty, we got another question. Awesome. Thank you for your comment. This angle causes the point to look like it's missing the facial hair. How many values do you think? Oh, about the facial hair. I'm being very tedious with pretty much everything at this stage. I'm not trying to create a photocopy by any means, but I'm trying to reason with shapes and put something down, a foundation that I would be able to come back to and work on. So let's see, we got some more questions. Thank you for the congratulations. How many values do you think about when laying in values at the beginning? I typically just go for 2 tones, light and shadow, and maybe a half tone here and there. But just like you're seeing it, I usually just go for light and shadow with maybe a half tone or 2. This tool, I can read it to you. It's a Pittsburgh 6-inch composite digital caliper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I bought this at a Harbor Freight store back when I had motorcycles. I would use this to adjust the chain on the motorcycles because you needed a very specific measurement for the tolerance of each of the chains. But I don't have motorcycles anymore, and I just have this. Of online classes, they are done through unlisted YouTube videos, meaning they get a virtual classroom, they get lessons, and they also have the opportunity to paint or to submit extracurricular painting activities, which are these public YouTube videos. The format is in the videos that they can view through patron-only posts where they can view the videos. But I'm going to be moving it into streaming as well, so the lessons will be streamed, but only the students can see because it's an unlisted link. Zoom, I would use Zoom, but it has some more technical issues than YouTube Live with an encoder. And I create a single video for virtual classrooms that combines the images sent every week. So every week they can send images by Saturday night, 11:59 p.m. So my patrons right now, my online students on Patreon are probably finishing up their images to submit by tonight. Yep, no problem. My favorite painter, as of now, it's Nelson Shanks. That changes once in a while, but Nelson Shanks definitely right now. I was lucky enough to meet him. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2015. Right now, I'm just adding a little more texture to the background to try to match how Van Dyck has the background, kind of brushy. Let's see, more questions. Oh man, come on, that's a hard question. Who's my favorite painter of all time? Thank you. Whoo, that's first name that comes to mind is John Singer Sargent. Ooh, but let's think about let's change the question to what do I think is the best painting? Yep, I got to meet Nelson Shanks. Yeah, I got to meet Nelson Shanks. He was amazing, and unless I was dreaming, I did also see him do a demonstration of ballet, portrait painting demo of a ballet dancer. Unless I was dreaming, I have to ask people if I was dreaming. Okay, so if I'm gonna think about the strongest painting that comes to mind, it's probably going to be Lady Shallot, if I can even pronounce it properly, by John William Waterhouse. So that's probably one of my favorite technical paintings of all time. So that, in theory, puts John William Waterhouse at the top when it comes to painters of all time, based on that painting. But if we're going to be basing it off of the complete body of work, and it's probably between Nelson Shanks and John Singer Sargent. In my opinion, they tie. A lot of people will probably be mad at me for saying that, but I think they tie. Let's see, more questions. Yep, John Singer Sargent is awesome. Do I find that proportion divider is useful? Have the last time I used a proportion divider, I don't even remember the last time I used a proportion divider. I just would stick with the simple stuff like a caliper. If you're working from life, a lot of sculptors actually will take the proportions, literally, measure the proportions on the model. You can also do that with self-portraits with a caliper. So that's one of the nice things about a caliper. So right now I'm just basically designing the background. So putting something interesting down. And I refer to these as classical painting marks for the background. And I really like to see these marks that you're seeing here show through with each layer. So the next layer, I'll probably put in some marks like this. And then the umber layer will still show through. So that's a really wonderful thing to have these layers kind of build up and show through. Yep, John Singer Sargent, definitely. Big inspiration. I really enjoy John Singer Sargent's work, Nelson Shank's work, and of course, John William Waterhouse, and Anthony Van Dyck. I went through a Caravaggio phase at one point, I think like last year or a year before. Really into Caravaggio also, but I like Caravaggio more for composition than I do for portraiture. And Vermeer, of course. But I think that Van Dyck is probably one of the best when it comes to... one of the best next to, say, Rembrandt. In my opinion, when it comes to portraiture. So this is the look that I really want. Have I ever... I use a digital drawing app, actually, for my virtual classroom for my online students. But nothing fancy. It's just called Drawing Desk that I use to help my students in the classroom. What advice would I give to someone who fears beginning a new painting? Sort of like writer's block. Yeah, we definitely get artist's block too. It's the equivalent. The advice I would give is to just be loose in the beginning. Once the stream ends, you'll be able to see the pre-recorded footage. You'll see how loose this was, and then ultimately how tight it ended up getting. But definitely, I would recommend being loose. Yep, definitely Caravaggio and Velasquez are awesome. Zorn palette, I really enjoy Zorn palette. Oh, thank you so much. I wish I was on their level. Maybe one day. Let's see. Zorn palette is definitely. I highly recommend the Zorn palette. In particular, pretty much all my. Well, this color is based off of the Zorn palette, or this palette, excuse me, is built from the Zorn palette. So, lead white. Some type of vermilion-ish red, yellow ochre, of course, and ivory black. That's pretty much all you need for almost any skin tone under, say, natural lighting. No, I don't mind. Please feel free to ask anything. Yeah, on the palette right now, I have the same color palette that I've been using for a pretty long time now. It's my favorite color palette, and just letting you know, the pre-recorded YouTube videos, again, the video you saw last week was filmed probably more than a month ago. So I've been sticking with this same color setup. So we've got Williamsburg Flake White, Old Holland Gamboge Lake Extra, Old Holland Yellow Ochre Deep, Williamsburg Cadmium Red Vermilion, Old Holland Alizarin Crimson Lake Extra. It's a really nice light fast color, so I'm not too worried about, you know, the fugitive color. Rublev French Raw Umber, Williamsburg Ivory Black, Old Holland Ultramarine Blue, and this little thingy right here is my medium that I was using earlier, but not with this, no medium here. This is Venetian Medium by Rublev. Let's see. More questions. Have I always been drawn to realism in painting, done work, abstract or impressionistic work? My favorite Nelson painting. My favorite Nelson painting is, crap, I don't remember the name. It's a model that's like leaning on a pillow, and there's a still life. It's basically the only one that I can find on the internet where the model is leaning on a pillow. And I did experiment with impressionistic style painting with all those colors a long time ago. My first painting teacher was actually an impressionist painter, and this was back in, I think, 2009. Your goal is to be better at painting than your last canvas. Yep. Yeah, I definitely feel that way too. That's why I'm doing a lot of these master studies, because there's so much to learn from this as opposed to, you know, using photo references all the time of people. I think that's always on the back of my mind too, like trying to get better and better at technique. And the more you can keep your technique, the more you understand each layer of your technique, the stronger your paintings will ultimately become. So that's really one of the reasons why I'm sticking with this same type of approach. Okay, let's see. With spike lavender, do I use that the same way as terps and brush cleaner? Yeah. Spike lavender. It's a very versatile tool. I have it over here. Actually, I don't think I used it that much, but I use it to thin out the paint to draw, and I also use it to tone my surface. But in the middle stages of painting, I usually will go with distilled turpentine, just because it is cheaper than the spike lavender, and won't harm the paint film as much as say petroleum distillates, such as say odorless mineral spirits or some type of mineral spirits. I actually don't really use mineral spirits too much anymore. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, yeah, I feel like every painter is always trying to, you know, improve on their previous paintings. And I'm really reaching now to find any imperfections in the drawing. Of course, it's never going to be perfect, but, you know, I'm trying to, in a sense, get the best drawing I possibly can in this umber layer. And also the texture, as you see, trying to build a very flat texture, meaning not too thick, but at the same time, I want the way that the brush strokes look to be aesthetically pleasing. To begin the class, you can begin with any materials you like. I have students using acrylics, water mixable oil paints. You know, I have experience with those too. I would recommend, I mean, if you have some raw umber around, and flake white or titanium white, whichever, and some brushes. They don't have to be expensive brushes, and painting support to work on. You're good to go. You can even start off with just charcoal and drawing. Definitely check out my Patreon if you're interested in taking my online classes. It's linked in this video in the description. It's also, oh, that's definitely wrong. It's you can just go type patreon.com/upariartist into your web browser, and it should show up. Looks like I've virtually nailed it. Ah, all right. Yes, hand clap, clap, clap. That was a good one. Virtually nailed it. It says if you copy the masters, you're not worthy of painting a radish. That sounds like Cezanne. I think that's Cezanne. It's either Cezanne or Picasso. Yeah, I won't get too much into philosophy. I'm mainly just talking about painting technique. All right, now I'm going to step back again. Still a little too sharp around here in terms of the edges. So let's get a scrubby scrub. If you paint portraits, you can paint anything. I think that's true. Not to, you know, I don't like to hate on anyone, but portraiture is very complicated because any little thing becomes a big thing. And then on the internet, you have people that are like attacking you for no reason. You know, if the nose is a little bit off or if something's a little off, people are, in general, not as forgiving with portraiture. Yeah, Griffin Alkyd is a really good. It does dry really fast, Griffin Alkyd. Yes, actually, when I use Griffin Alkyd, when I use this, I do mix it in with, say, I'll pre-mix it with any one of these colors. To expedite the drying process, I also have the Griffin Alkyd Ivory Black to expedite the drying of my darker colors. So definitely a good color to use. Although since then, I found that these colors, the Old Holland and the Williamsburg, dry at a very reasonable rate. So now I'm just trying to soften. I'm going to stand back. Yeah, nose is not quite there. You know, oftentimes I won't really catch a mistake until after, excuse me, after filming is done. So I think that there's a little more of the nasal bone than I'm giving credit. And I could also have the nose a little too generic, a little too round. I'm also just missing the curvature of the nostril. But these are details I can just paint in later on. All right, awesome. We got a new question. We need Vincent van Gogh study from his old paintings. Van Gogh. Oh, okay. So, I do have a Van Gogh master study film live talking, but it's a couple months ago, I think, maybe even a year ago. But yeah, I will look into that. I get the scrubby scrub brush. Thank you for everyone that's leaving a like. Um, yes, you can sell master studies that are created from paintings that are before, I think, 1920. There's a, yes, copyright wasn't a thing when it comes to these paintings, from my understanding, till about 1920. So if you're creating a master study from the 17th century, then, I mean, all jokes aside, I don't think that it would be a problem. Or even from the 18th century. I sold one that was Joseph Solomon, uh, Solomon Joseph Solomon from a while ago, but that's before 1920. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad that you've learned so much, Doreen. Yeah, I'd love to have you in my online class, definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, when it comes to ventilation, Doreen, spike lavender is known to be, better, less harmful for our respiratory system. And a lot of people say that it smells really strong. I really like how spike lavender smells. It's what I'm using right now in my little cup here. It's kind of like your studio turns into a spa. It's a really nice thing to have. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bill the Butcher. Yeah, definitely. When you look at the paintings through the X-rays and stuff, yeah, you can see the messiness of the underpaintings. Yeah, definitely. All right. So now I'm gonna stand back again. Emphasis on how often I stand back. Has everyone seen the Studio and Cominati live streams? If you haven't, I would definitely check out Studio and Cominati. The very last one that they had last year, luckily I was able to see it before the world ended. Um, it was such an inspiration to see all of the camera work and all the cables and stuff necessary for HD live streaming, which was what motivated me to figure out the setup that I have that you're watching today live. So if you haven't seen the Studio and Cominati videos, and you do, make sure to leave a comment there and say that Yupari sent you, just so they know I still exist. and that I'm really thankful to Studio Incominati. Gonna get some paper towel. So please let me know if you like these virtual painting sessions in HD. So I'm definitely considering doing more of these. And of course, if you're interested in studying with me, definitely check out the patreon.com. Remember, it's only $10 a month to have access to the online lessons. There's also a $20 a month Patreon level where you not only have access to the lessons, but you can also watch the lessons created live. Here's a nice little curve for the clavicle, going towards the shoulder and deltoid, and under here would be the pectoral muscle. This little shadow here, or sorry, halftone here. The name of the reference, so I have it, if you scroll down to the description of this live stream, I actually have it linked in photo reference. It's Van Dyck painting, Anthony Van Dyck painting. The nice thing about this is that it's not, it seems to be more of a study that Van Dyck did. So, you know, we get to basically use almost the same kind of approach that he would have used. I think I figured out what was wrong with the nose. Just intuitively, I think that it's too long. A little too close to the mouth. I'm glad you find these to be educational. Remember, I also have the online classes available now. So the nose definitely was too long, and by too long, probably about a millimeter, maybe a millimeter and a half. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up. What famous paintings have you seen in person? You know, I haven't really traveled that much, but I have been to the Met in New York. I've seen the John Singer Sargent of, I can't remember the name, the Four Sisters. Also there they had a Bouguereau painting, which was amazing to see in person. And I also saw the pearl earring in person. A girl with a pearl earring. Which I'm actually going to redo that one as an online lesson for my online students. And of course, here in the DC area where I live, before the world ended, I would go to the National Gallery, and I got to see, you know, the Vermeer, the lady holding the balance. Yeah, there was one time, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, I spent like, I think like 4 hours in that room staring at that painting. The Lily Rose Sargent painting. If it was in the Met about like 5 years ago, then I probably saw it. I can't quite recall. So yeah, this was definitely a thing. The Philtrum was too short. I usually tell my students, you know, portrait portrait is kind of the story of how a bunch of little things either made my day or ruined it, which is why it really pays to have a set strategy that you use. Yeah, yeah, Bouguereau is incredible. Unfortunately, Bouguereau was known to. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was known to varnish in between layers, which could explain why a lot of his paintings are starting to crack a lot. But technique-wise, Bouguereau is amazing. The bulb of the nose, it does drop slightly, so I'm gonna have to raise the mustache, I think, a little bit. I don't know, push and pull. It's little tiny things, but thanks for pointing that out. Yep, I'm gonna push the bulb of the nose down. For a beginner, I would suggest a smaller canvas or panel. I always recommend panel now these days. I kind of broke up with cotton canvas. I really don't like to use it anymore. About 1114 is good. Thoughts on Salvador Dali? He, technique-wise, he's amazing, though I'm not really too into the surrealist paintings. Yeah, that's the one, the with the four sisters of the sergeant. Oh yeah, if time travel was possible, yeah, I would probably go back to Sergeant, and study with Sergeant, or if I could just have like I don't know if any of you have seen the TV show Fringe, um, where they had like an old TV where you can see glimpses into the past. If I had one of those, I would definitely you know want to watch Sergeant work. Pretty much all of them. I mean, Sargent, Rembrandt, Vermeer. So thanks for pointing that out with the bottom of the nose. Yeah, Da Vinci. I would definitely like to meet Da Vinci. But for me, I think the first, I don't know, it's between Rembrandt and Sargent. I'm starting to kind of favor Rembrandt if I could time travel and see anyone paint. You would want to help Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So I think the nose is more accurate now. Hard to tell. Any present day artists that will be future masters? Probably Jeremy Lipking, current painter. That's the first name that comes to mind. Um, Definitely Nelson Shanks, though. I think he's already considered a master. Um, Yeah, I think between those names, of course, there are countless others. Oh, thank you so much. Oh yeah, yeah, Cesar Santos, definitely. Yeah, he's definitely. Well, I think he's already considered a master. I wish I could make videos and content like him, but I'm just not as, I guess, high energy. I'm going to stand back again. So to everyone listening, I do consider this to be an art form, combining painting, in particular representational painting and video. I do consider this to be an art form. Uh, it's something that I hope will survive me. In the future, painters in the future will have like large data banks of um, YouTube videos from a century ago and things like that to watch, and hopefully I'll be remembered for this. I don't know. Who knows? Oh yeah, Nelson's self-portrait. Yeah, if you look really close, there's really nice impasto that Nelson used in his self-portrait. I have one self-portrait I've been working on for I think about a month now, or a month and a half. I've been building up the surface texture, in hopes to make a good painting because it's something I'm doing from life. And that will be seen on, my patrons have already seen it, but that one will be seen on Instagram eventually. Yeah, I hope this will be considered an art. Combining digital art. It's crazy, man. We're talking, and I'm sitting over here, 20 miles away from DC, conversing with everyone from around the world in painting, and this is definitely, I would consider this my art form. Yeah, yeah. If Da Vinci had videos, we could watch. There's Nelson Shanks videos, but uh, though you have to purchase those online from the Studio in Caminati. They're not full length, but they're a good like 20-30 minute demonstrations, and that's what really motivated me a long time ago when I first saw those videos in like 2010. That's what really motivated me to one day be able to create painting videos. Yep, Waterhouse, definitely. In fact, earlier today I was working, live streaming a Waterhouse painting for my live stream to your patrons on Patreon. Of course, my live stream to your patrons will be able to watch the online lessons as they're created live. So essentially, I'll be streaming multiple times a day. Oh, thank you so much. Living in Berlin. See, this is amazing. I mean, I'm just little old Upari here. I'm just sitting here. I go to the grocery store like once every week or something. Like I don't travel often. Uh, My fiance lives in Virginia, so Northern Virginia, so that's like 20 miles away. That's the most I really travel. And I'm here, I'm able to paint and talk with folks from all over. And you're watching from England. Awesome. Tamara Kennedy, you're wondering how you can watch, if you're considering the online classes and the Waterhouse I was talking about, that's on my Patreon. Again, really awesome way to help support artists. You can just type in, thank you so much from UK. You can definitely type in patreon.com/upariartist and you'll be able to watch the streams. So what I want to do is upload lessons for my students in the mornings, stream them live in the mornings, and then in the evenings, stream here on YouTube. I also want to stream to both Facebook and Instagram once I can figure that out. But I mean, this is why I've been painting and talking for the longest time. I've been training myself to be able to one day do this live. Back home from overseas. Taking a class. Oh, you mean a physical in-person class? If you live in the DC area, Howard County Arts Council is in the DC area. They're still closed. They're going to be closed for the fall, but the office told me that they will open in, they're considering opening in the winter, so possibly then. Oh, you have the oh, Ben, you have the Joseph Solomon. Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, it's 100 degrees in California today. Yeah, I'm so glad that fall is coming. This house, the main air conditioner broke, so we've had a bunch of window air conditioners, which does help. But in my recording studio, it's too much noise to have window air conditioners, so I was basically kind of melting every time I made a pre-recorded video. But now it's awesome. It's not too hot. Hello from Australia. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, this is French Raw Umber. French Raw Umber is currently my favorite color to start with and to tone. This is made by Rublev French Raw Umber. You can also get similar color from Old Holland and Williamsburg. How do I clean my brushes? Basically, the synthetic ones, the small ones, I clean them with distilled turpentine that's in here, or odorless mineral spirits. If I'm only going to clean, I don't use mineral spirits to draw with anymore. So yeah, and then the brushes like this, the bigger ones, I'll actually, once I clean it with the turpentine, then I will clean it with dish soap and hot water. I started taking formal classes when I was in high school, so my senior year in 2009. But I've always been painting and drawing. I used to sketch cars when I was in middle school and sketch my teachers when I was in middle school, elementary school. But formal teaching began when I was a senior in high school in 2009. Does that interfere with paint heat? Oh yeah, you know what, it does. The room, being a little bit warmer, did make the paintings dry faster, but not much. I mean, faster by maybe a handful of hours, but not by much. Rembrandt seemed like a character. Da Vinci was brilliant. John Singer Sargent's realism is crazy. Yeah, there's so many I would love to meet too. Hello there, it's me. Thank you so much for your comment. Alright, now I'm going to stand back. I think the problem with the nose has been resolved. Of course, it's never going to be perfect, but I'm trying to find any kind of mistakes. Look at that. We're going 2 hours, 10 minutes. It feels like nothing. Let's put some more of the paint out as I'm running out. So yeah, everyone let me know if you are enjoying the stream. Remember, you'll be able to see the pre-recorded footage after this is done. And I definitely want to do more of these. Hello, Manuela. I'm glad that you like the stream. We'll definitely be doing more of these. And remember, it is possible that I may lose internet connection once in a while. But, you know, I'm using an encoder to stream HD from my Canon T7i. And I'm using my Blue Yeti microphone to create the best, you know, outcome possible. Oh, yeah. You know, meeting Caravaggio, yeah. You know, maybe I would meet Caravaggio if there was, like, solid glass between us, you know? Yeah, I know what you mean. If I could meet one master artist and ask them something, I would walk up to Rembrandt and ask him exactly what's on his palette. That's what I would do. I'm glad you're enjoying this video. Oh, yeah, time is just flying. It's crazy. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. There will be many more of these. And don't forget to check out my Patreon if you would like to have the online lessons available and the online classes. No, actually, I haven't dipped the brush in the medium, that is in the solvent, the Spike Lavender. I did in the beginning, but now I'm more or less just pushing the paint around. Remember, in the beginning, you don't want to use too much medium. So you don't want to use too much linseed oil or walnut oil or anything like that. Try to keep it just your oil paint and the oil that's in your oil paint. Remember, fat over lean means that you want to increase the amount of oil that you use as you build up the layers. This is a nice little moment. The side of the chin, or sorry, the side of the ramus of the jaw. Wish I could grow facial hair like this, but I can't. I started painting my first painting ever. I think, yes, I was a child. But I think I painted like a duckling or something when I was a kid. But I started my training, my formal training, when I was a senior in high school, 2009. Steve Houston? No, I don't think I know. Yeah, definitely. Painting and drawing as a remedy for depression, definitely. Oh, wow. Thank you, Bill the Butcher, for your wonderful comment. I'm glad that this has helped you with that. I was diagnosed with ADD when I was a kid, so this kind of helps me because otherwise, you know, I'm usually throughout the day I'm holding a paintbrush, or when I had a math tutor when I was a kid, I would always get in trouble for holding a pencil all the time. So yeah, painting does help in many ways. Awesome. Thank you for watching from London, Tony. The nose is good. Yay, we got the nose. Thanks, Doreen. Yeah, it'll get adjusted as the layers develop. Okay, I'll definitely check out Steve Houston. Thank you. No. This isn't burnt umber. This is French raw umber from Rublev. Currently my favorite color to use to draw. I toned this with French raw umber from Rublev. Yep, art definitely helps. All right, so now I'm going to stand back. I guess sit back. Oh, it's really hard now to see anything. So if anyone sees something, if you want to point something out. You know, occasionally I'll get a... I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, we'll have many more of these. Occasionally, you know, I'll get comments, people telling me that my painting looks worse than scrambled eggs or something like that. But, you know, if anyone sees anything that I can change. Yeah, I guess there's hope to grow facial hair. I tried, but kind of gave up on it a couple of days ago. All right, so I'm going to stand back again. So now I'm in the stage where I can't really see anything major. I see a little more of a shadow down here for the corner of the clavicle. Oh, mic draw paint. I don't know. People say things to me all the time. Sometimes people can be mean for no reason. I had someone... I was just at the Giant today picking up some walnuts for a Peruvian dish. And yeah, there's this man like staring me down. Like he really hated me for some reason. Put his like shopping cart in front of me. Poor old man in his, I think 80s or 90s. So yeah, some people will be like that. Hey Nick, I'm glad you arrived at the stream. And don't worry, this footage will be available after the stream ends. And I do plan on doing more live streams. Yeah, haters gonna hate, yep. Yeah, there's nothing like seeing a painting in person. Oh, thank you so much for noticing the progression in my painting techniques. California? Yeah, I'd love to visit California. I mean, when the world goes back to normal, definitely. Yeah, there'll be trolls. Trolls will be trolls. So the technique. This is classical painting technique. It's kind of Dutch, but not really. It's taken from a lot of different sources. My main source that I try to look for when it comes to learning techniques is actually art conservationist lectures. But again, if you're interested in more into my techniques, I do have my online classes available on my Patreon. And those lessons are step by step, like literally step by step. With the YouTube videos, I'm usually just kind of painting along. I do move much faster than I would, you know, with an online class. And with the online class, of course, you get to, you know, submit images to me. And I submit you images as well for the approved photo references. And, you know, also tomorrow is going to be a live chat. So the $5 tier on Patreon gets the live chat. And of course, the tiers, you know, people in the $20 tier get the same benefits as the 10, the 5, and then the $2 one, alongside with the $20 benefits, of course, and then so on and so forth. Tomorrow I'll be doing a live chat for Patreon with Mr. Taco, the Chihuahua. So yep, definitely check out Patreon if you don't mind. You get to see me, you know, answering more questions with Mr. Taco, the Chihuahua. I was gonna have Zorro, my ball python, but some of my patrons are afraid of ball pythons, which is understandable. Is Gesso smooth or rough? Okay, so this is a wooden panel. I can actually, without bumping into my stuff, I can show you. This is see the back. So this is what it looked like before. I think this is birch wood. I purchased this panel. It was unprimed, and over the span of a week, I believe I added 7 layers of Liquitex professional acrylic gesso. Every morning I would sand lightly and then reapply gesso, so about 7 layers of gesso. And then on top of that, I toned it with the French raw umber oil paint. And let that dry for about a week. So 2 weeks in the process. Looks like the internet might be cutting out. Uh-oh. Kind of along that line, Whistler, but I guess I'm leaning more towards I guess 17th century, minus the transfer drawings. Mind you, the current project that my students are working on utilize the transfer drawing with a drawing template, printable template that I made for my students. Patreon, there's a link to my Patreon in the description box of this video. There's also, if you just Google Upari Artist, or patreon.com/Upari Artist, it will show up. The online classes start at $10 a month. With the $20 a month, you'll be able to watch the streams for each lesson uploaded live. And of course, there's hours and hours and hours of content there. I can even show you one of the printouts. Of course, I'm only going to show it for a brief second. On Patreon, my online students have printables. So this is only going to be for a millisecond, but printable things. They're formatted at a 8x10 inch. So. Yep, I create resources like that for my online students on Patreon to help them with their drawing. And of course, it's inspired from the Barg method. Oh, yep, definitely 7 layers of gesso. Of course, it was thinned out with water, the gesso, so not ultra thick. All right, so I'm going to stand back again. We might even make it to 3 hours. Like nothing. I mean, this is as real as it gets. So it looks like Van Dyck kind of exaggerated the curve for the clavicle, so I'll stick with what he did. Thank you so much, Barbara. Oh, you're in Richmond. Awesome. You're actually pretty close to me. Well, pretty close as in, I think, like 2.5 hours away from where I live. My fiance has some family living in Richmond. Oh, you've seen this image. Interesting. So, yeah, it does appear like this is a study that uh, Van Dyck did. So there's possibly a more finished version of this somewhere online. What, with longer hair? White gum emulsion acrylic paint primes well too. Yeah. Um, yes, I did study anatomy. I do study anatomy. Unfortunately, I can't really do many figurative. I haven't done really much figure work in a while, but when I was at Studio in Caminati, we did study anatomy a lot, and we did a lot of figure drawing. So this is the suprasternal notch that I always seem to underestimate. Gesso prices seem to have gone up. You know, it's possible, Dorian, but you know what I do? I get a large brush, a large bristle brush. I dip it into the water and kind of strain it a little bit. And then I kind of lay the panel flat. I put in like an S, like a S curve or something of gesso, not very much. And then using the water that's on the brush, assuming it's Liquitex Professional, um, I can cover a lot of surface really quickly, so I don't end up using that much. Studio in Caminati is excellent. I haven't, been there, and I haven't visited in 2 years, but when I was there, I lived with one of the instructors named Robin Fry, wonderful artist. But yeah, the Studio in Caminati is, I think, one of the greatest schools. Next to Grand Central in New York, and of course Florence Academy. Studio in Caminati, they have a different approach to color that I don't use. I studied their method of color, which is more impressionistic, based on Henry Henchy. Has anyone here heard of Henry Henchy? Very similar to the Henry Henchy approach. In fact, Nelson studied with Henry Henchy, and he also studied with the same artist that taught the. I believe it's the same artist that runs the Angel Academy, the more classical art school. So yeah, I definitely recommend Studio in Caminati if you want to take in-person classes. Of course, I want to teach more in-person classes too, but when the world gets its act together. New Masters Academy, yeah, I've checked out some of their videos. All right, so I'm going to step back again. All right, so I'm struggling to find things that I want to add. I could probably almost start the next layer in this. Steve Houston. Okay, well, New Masters Academy rings a bell, but yeah, I'll look up Steve Houston. Kind of left a little accidental scratch mark on the forehead. So yeah, I think that this painting is good to go to let dry overnight for the next layer. Wow, I can't believe it's been 2 hours, 30 minutes. Feels like it's been 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, you've heard of Henry Henchy, Nick? Yeah, my first teacher, they called themselves the Henchyites. My first teacher was a Henchite. He studied with Henry Henchy as well. So my first experience painting was like that, actually. Palette knife, painting still life outdoors in the sunlight. But I wouldn't recommend that if you're starting out with painting. Nope. Not to say anything mean to anyone, but that's just nope. That can unfortunately, in my opinion, lead to the habit of not looking carefully at drawing as the primary foundation of painting. I feel like drawing should always be the foundation. And then you can always add color, as much color as you want. Let's step back again. All right, I cannot find anything else. Oh, there we go. Concavity of the eye socket. Needs a little more clearance. Now we're talking. All right, so does anyone have any questions? I think I'm kind of just kind of ready to let this dry overnight and pick this back up tomorrow. I may even just stream this again on Monday, or I don't know. I'm not really set on the public video streaming. The Patreon streaming is a fixed schedule. So, you know, if anyone wants to watch the continuation of this live, possibly on Monday or, I don't know, maybe even tomorrow. I hear that I'm also a really good sleeping aid. So if you have trouble sleeping, my voice will probably put you to sleep. You wish Studio Incominati was in Philly when you lived there. I think, yeah, Pennsylvania Academy was there before Studio Incominati, also known as PAFA. But you know, there's so many, Doreen, there's so many online resources to learn from. And again, if you haven't, Doreen, if you haven't seen their live streams, definitely I would check out their live streams. Just type Studio Incominati into YouTube and put a live stream. And if you look at the last one, I was actually there. I was in the audience. So definitely send them a message in the comments for me. Tell them Upari sent you. This will be dry by tomorrow. Touch dry in 24 hours for sure. And again, it's because I'm using a raw umber. Sure, yeah, I'll schedule the streams a little bit more in advance. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the live streams. So yeah, French raw umber, Rublev, awesome. You can also get the get Old Holland or Old Holland brand or Williamsburg brand. Hey Kathy. Yep. All right, Kathy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow in the live chat. Let's see. Thank you for YouTube streaming. Oh wow, you followed me for a year. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm glad you enjoyed the methods of these videos. Hello there, Regine from Berlin. Thanks for tuning in. We're actually almost about done with this stream, but don't worry, I'm gonna start streaming a lot more often now. And the footage, the pre-recorded footage of this Rubens, why do I keep saying Rubens? Of this Van Dyck painting is gonna be available for you to watch in its entirety after the stream ends. So I'll just hang out a little bit longer if anyone has any questions. In the meantime, I'm gonna go on the hunt for my fan brush. I keep losing the fan brush. There you are. Fan brush located. Trying to run away from me. So this is my fan brush. This is a synthetic fan brush. I think this is the one that came in the package from Salvador when I did the acrylic paint review some time ago. So you know, any synthetic fan brush is pretty good for what I'm about to do. So what I'm gonna do is just gently move it across to pick up any excess paint. This will also help the painting to be touch dry in about 24 hours. Just adjusting this shadow shape, if you know what I mean. So what this does, if anyone is curious, this just helps me to make the surface or the texture of the painting as flat as possible. It does help with the drying time if you have, you know, more of a flat underlayer. And remember that this is already, I'm already painting onto a oil prime tone. Cost of a commissioned portrait in my area. Oh, hi, from Lebanon. So if you're doing commissions for, you know, if you're doing commissions, it's important to use a set curve or you know, a fixed pricing technique. So usually, I will have a number that I multiply, say 272, like $2.72. I usually multiply it by square inch. And of course with commissions, the commissions that I've done here are a little less than that. So the bigger the painting gets, the less that 272 becomes. So for a larger one, it may be like, you know, $1.50 a square inch, but that's usually how I calculate. Oh, thank you for the clapping emoji. Thanks for tuning in to our virtual painting session. And don't worry, there'll be plenty more of these as long as my computer keeps working and the internet keeps working, of course. This is probably one of the most intricate Umber drawings I've done here for YouTube. And it's because we've been drawing for about 2 hours, 41 minutes. Let's see if I can zoom in for you. It's probably not a good idea to zoom in, but I'll zoom in. Okay, never mind. So it looks like the okay, so given the program, I don't think I can zoom. Never mind. Oh. So the zoom did work. Okay, never mind. Apologize for that. So yeah, any last questions anyone would like to ask me? I'll wait for about a couple minutes. I think I've done pretty much everything that I wanted to do for the umber layer of this master study. Thank you so much. B. Awesome username. Plain and simple. I like it. And thank you so much to everyone that's leaving a like. How is this possible? I have 149 likes, but only 70 viewers? Are you able to like twice? Well, if you can, keep on liking. Thank you so much. But it's crazy. I just can't imagine the technological, what we have in technology. How many layers of gesso on a normal canvas? First thing I should say is that I lately I've been working on wooden panels, and this one has 7 layers of gesso, but thin gesso. I didn't gesso it overly thick. Well, thank you so much for watching, Ben. There will definitely be more live streams, that's for sure. This is a lot of fun to do. Oh, you think so? They came, liked, and then had to leave. I don't know how this program works. I mean, from the way I'm looking at the program, I think I've only had 71 viewers. Which is amazing. I mean, 71 viewers. That's... Wow, I mean, that's like almost like a stadium. I'm really thankful for every single subscriber that I have here on YouTube. It's really like a dream come true. And I'm hoping that, you know, and connecting with everyone that you would be interested also in studying with me in my online classes. We can definitely explore painting even further. And drawing, of course. Alright, so just a few more minutes and then I'll hit the button to end the stream. So any last questions? It's almost 2 a.m. Wow. Oh my goodness, thank you for watching this at 2 a.m. What? It's 2:50 a.m. in Lebanon. Wow. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you'll have access to the pre-recorded video after the stream is done. Thank you so much for watching from Lebanon at 2 in the morning. There was about 100 before? I didn't know that. You know, I'm not very technologically proficient. Let's see. Water soluble. No. These are, although you can do this with water soluble, water mixable. It just takes longer for it to dry. I'm using French raw umber, Rublev. And as my drawing medium, or my solvent that is, I'm using spiked lavender oil. Yes, I have considered Twitch, but the problem is I'm going to have to start from scratch. You know, because I don't have an audience with Twitch, but... You think so? Okay, I'll take a look at Twitch. The app does let me stream on Twitch, so... yeah, I can figure that out. I can look into Twitch. Not sure how that works, but yeah. Oh, look at that. Our stream is starting to freeze. I'm gonna write a question. Uh-oh. Fan brush tip. Oh, I'm glad you like the fan brush tip. Alrighty. So it looks like we are starting to lose connection again for the second time. But overall, it's been really good. So I'm going to send everyone a comment. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm not leaving YouTube. I really enjoy being able to, you know, be a content creator here on YouTube. Why can't brushstrokes be found on the Mona Lisa? Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. Usually artists sometimes will, if the right terminology, smoothen out an area, you know, such as this. So apply a brushstroke and just kind of blend away, but still keep the, you know, the shape. Start off with a 2-inch brush like Bob Ross. Yeah. It would be fun to do, you know, alla prima in the Bob Ross way. Yep, don't worry. Zara? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Yeah, definitely won't leave YouTube. Though the stream will have to end at some point very soon, just because, you know, I've done pretty much everything I could do that I can think of. But don't worry, I'm going to start doing more streams because it's a lot of fun. And, you know, hopefully it will help with, you know, the connectivity, and it's just nice to be able to engage with the audience in real time. All right, I just sent a message. So Augustin, so the next, the next video that I'll film, I don't quite know. Maybe it will be building up the flesh tones on this, or maybe I'll jump back to the Rembrandt. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I'm glad I pronounced your name properly. Awesome. The next layer of this won't be glazing. It will be color underpainting, the same way that I've been developing the Nelson Shanks one, the one that you saw before. So yeah, I'm gonna do the best that I can to connect more with everyone. And again, if you would like to study with me, definitely check out patreon.com/upariartist. I would love to have you as a student in my online class. Yep, that being said, thank you again for your wonderful comment, Zara. Thank you so much, everyone that has watched the stream, sent comments and likes. I appreciate all the likes. Look at that, I just got another like. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to continue streaming. It took me a while to set up this streaming setup, but I really enjoy the setup, and hopefully we will have more high definition painting sessions such as this one. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and it's time for me to hit the end stream button. I'll see you again on the next video. Thank you so much.